Yeah, is mine okay?
Yeah.
I made sure to wear headphones this time.
Hey there, guys. Happy, what's today? I forget. Happy Thursday?
Thursday.
It is Thursday. It is Thursday. It is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you requested, as we delivered, we're doing another live stream here with our certification specialist, Lisa. Everyone say hi, Lisa.
Hi.
So what we're going to do here is this is not very strategic, organized. There is no PowerPoint presentation. We put in the groups, we put on our Facebook page, we put on our YouTube channel to send us your questions, text us your questions, email your questions. So we do have a bunch of questions that came in. So what we're going to do is we'll work this very easily. We'll cycle through some of those questions. We'll answer some of the big ticket questions a lot of people have when it comes to certification. And if you're watching this live, or even if you're watching the recording afterwards, go ahead. Oh, there's more questions coming in there. There you go. Go ahead and put those in the comment box. We will throw them on the screen. Obviously, if it's the recording, we'll answer you on the YouTube, because we are streaming right now live from our Learning Liaisons Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So before we get rolling, go ahead and either take a snapshot of the screen, grab the URL on the top, and post this on your social media, and tag a teacher now that you feel it would be beneficial and needs their questions asked when it comes to certification, because it can be a very daunting and process full of anxiety if you're not sure how to do it and you ask the wrong questions. And I'm sure many people watching this, let me know in the comment box if you ever had to wait on hold for the DOE, right? Or not get a response from your school district or university. So we are here to help you, and we will get rolling. And once again, if you have any comments, go ahead and throw them in the comment box, whether it's live during our stream or in the recording, and we will help you out. So you ready, Lisa?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right. So let's throw up one of these questions here to get the conversation going. This is a popular one now. So this question came in from a teacher who actually has to take their FTCE exams and their praxis. Lucky for them, right? They want to know if there's any leniency with the Florida DOE when it comes to certification because of COVID, meaning are deadlines extended? Is there any leniency going on where maybe you don't even have to take your exams in order to get your job?
So for Florida, and only the state of Florida right now, they've provided extensions for your temporary certificate to extend that till the December 30th. Every other thing is still being held in standard regulations. So if you have your temp cert or your professional cert about to expire in 2021, I would anticipate, until otherwise noted from the district or anybody else, that that you will still have to complete those requirements.
Okay, so did you hear that? There are no real extensions or anything like that. And please do not go by what other people say. So there's rumors get spread very easily. If you're not in our Facebook group, we have a Florida FTCE Facebook, a free prep group called When You Pass. If you're not in there, definitely request access. Just put When You Pass in the search box on Facebook. But sometimes we got to put fires out because somebody hears something from a friend and all of a sudden they post it online in a blog or in our group and everyone's like, what? There's no more tests? What? They're waiving? No. The only extension, right, Lisa, was this past, if you had a June 30th deadline, they extended it to December 31st. Other than that, same rules apply as for now. Now, we don't know if that will change, but as of right now, there are no exceptions. Okay, all right. Let's go to our next question. So if someone passed the Spanish K12 subject area exam in 2006, has it expired? So does that person have to take the exam again? And if, this is kind of multi-part question, if in 2006 she received a letter of eligibility for PK through 3.
Sure. So your exam scores, whether it be your subject area exam, your general knowledge test, or your professional education test, those scores are good for 10 years. And so the 10-year mark starts from your pass date up until when you apply and get your application processed with the Department of Education. That's going to be that 10-year time frame that needs to happen. Since it's been over 10 years, since it is 2006, if you haven't applied that to any kind of certification before, it's unfortunately not going to apply now. You will have to retake that Spanish K through 12 exam. And the second part of it is in 2006, she received a letter of eligibility for pre-K through 3. If you were eligible for pre-K through 3, usually that's either due to your coursework or it's going to be you passed the subject area exam. So if you were eligible in your letter of eligibility in 2005 due to your coursework, you are more than likely, I would say I'm 90% confident, not even 95% confident that you would still be eligible based off of your coursework today. Now, if you took and passed the subject area exam in order to gain that eligibility in 2005, then your scores are no longer valid and you would have to retake that exam.
Awesome. All right, great. So we got some more. I love this. I asked about how long did you wait? At least an hour. That's it? An hour? I saw people take a snapshot of their phone last week and put it in our Facebook group, and someone, or it was, I don't know if it was Praxis and they were calling ETS, but they were on there for like 2 hours and 40 minutes and they put the phone on there. So yeah. Let us know how long. I'm curious, how long have you ever waited? What was the longest time you ever waited for the DOE on the phone call? So that's something to put in the comment box if you're watching the recording or watching live. So interesting. Marika put on there, are there any new codes to get any tests for free? I'm sure I think I could tackle this one easy. I'm sure you're referring to the fee waivers. Unfortunately, no, they stopped that back in the middle of May. So they do not have any free waiver codes for that. However, I will be revealing a 50% code for people who are watching this at the end of the session too. If you need to grab any prep courses, we're here to help you for that. I got a text one in here. I put it in the chat box. Let me throw it on the screen here. Okay. This just came in on my phone. So my statement of eligibility is till June 2021, but recently I received an email from the DOE that I have to upgrade my application and pay $75 fee again so they can send a new statement of eligibility. I have not passed my GK and ProEd yet, and I'm doing classes on Beacon Educators. I've done 4 classes, 5 more to go.
Sure. So when you get a temporary certificate, usually if you get to your 3rd year and you have not upgraded to your professional certificate yet, I am aware they recently started sending notifications letting you know that you still have a year left to complete your requirements for that professional certificate. So once you do complete your requirements, then it would be at that time that you would go to upgrade to your professional certificate.
Okay, awesome. Marika, why do teachers have to take so many tests?
I can't answer that.
I could give you the answer I get everybody. I get the same thing from our Praxis peeps because they have to take a series of 3 exams too. It's just part of the certification process, Marika. I know it sucks. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it's just a part of the profession. This is obviously a personal opinion, but the fact is that professions are marked by a code of ethics and a series of certifications. So any profession you can think of, engineering, electrician, realtor, doctor, lawyer, they all have those processes and exams. Now, yes, it's bad that we have to take 3 of them and our jobs are held above us for that. If you're on that track, but just part of the process, you can do it. Everybody can pass the exam, just about being diligent, doing things the right way. You got this. But I know it is frustrating, especially when they need teachers.
Yep.
Let's see here. Here's another question here. So I live in Florida. This is from Tasha. The FLDOE says only, I don't know what that is, ABCTE? What's that slang?
No, I know what it is.
What is it?
So it is considered an alternative certification program.
Okay.
It's not very common. I encounter people that go through the program. Usually individuals end up in non-education majors. So that's what I'm assuming you mean by non-degree. A non-education degree person would utilize the alternative certification route, which consists of the county program, an EPI program, to complete their requirements. Now to the question, where does your program become approved or eligible? What the Learning Liaisons does is they provide on-demand test prep courses to help you with the state exams. So when you go through the alternative certification route, with exception to ABCTE, you do have to take state exams. Every other route, there's 11 total routes for individuals to complete their certification requirements for their professional. They would go and take the 3 state exams.
All right. So let's get to the next one here. So this person has their bachelor's in exercise science and health promotion. They would like to be a physical education teacher. How is the process? How much does it cost? How long is it? Do I need an internship? So we got a lot of questions here. We can tackle them all.
All right. So how is the process? There's a lot to the process. It's not as simple as you'd hope just to show up. How much does it cost? I guess I should talk more about what that process and how long and the internship part first before I get to the cost part. So since you graduate in an area that's not related to your subject area, so your degree is in exercise science and health and you want to go into PE. Now there's similarities in it. Now, because it's not specific to physical education or education-related PE courses, is very likely the Department of Education is going to ask that you pass a subject area exam in order to be eligible to teach PE. So the subject area exam for physical education would be one of the 3 state exams that you'd have to take. Now, the process, in a very general sense of how I can describe this process as simple as possible, for anybody going through the process, is they're going to have to apply with the Department of Education. There is a state certification process you have to go through. You do have to complete education courses. You do have to complete state exams. And then there is an internship component. So depending on the route or the program that you choose, you may be doing an internship with a college. You may be conducting observations. You may be teaching on your temporary certificate and utilizing that as your internship experience. That is completely up to the program that you decide or route you decide to go through in order to complete your requirements. Now, in terms of cost, for someone that did not graduate with an education degree, you're looking at the total cost. You have county programs. I mean, it really depends on what county you're in, but it could be about $1,000 or it could be up to $4,000. And that just depends on what area you are in, what program you decide to go through. And there's a lot of little different factors that come into play when it comes to that total cost.
Awesome. And do we talk about they don't need internships, right?
Well, the internship is they are teaching or they're conducting observations, and that's kind of independent and individualized per the type of program that you select.
Awesome. All right. So we got a question from Stella here watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining, Stella. How many times can we renew the letter of eligibility?
Technically, with the statement of eligibility, if it does expire, you do have the ability to renew, reapply, and get a new statement of eligibility. Now, this is different than getting a temporary certificate. If you get a temporary certificate and you are hired as a teacher, you do have to have that sit-out year before you can teach as a certified teacher. And it's either you sit out or you complete all your requirements to earn your professional certificate. But if you're someone that has never been hired as a teacher of record, you only applied with the state, got your statement of eligibility, but it just timing didn't work out, you never actually got hired, you can go ahead and reapply, and there's, as far as I know, no limit to doing that.
Okay, so kind of, I don't know if it's along the same lines, but what about, you want to, while we're on this topic, do you want to talk about the difference between oh, is there an echo? Is there an echo?
It's not me this time, I promise.
Let me just check. Maybe
Actually, it probably is me.
Maybe I got it open on the computer here. Nope, it's fine now. The situation where people, we could talk about the difference between the statement of eligibility and the
temporary?
Temporary, my brain's going.
Okay, it's okay. It's 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
No, there's no judgment. Remember, guys, we're no judgment here. It is an important thing to understand the difference between your statement of eligibility as well as your temporary certificate. So your statement of eligibility is a formal letter that you receive after you apply with the Department of Education that is going to outline all your requirements in order to earn both your temporary and your professional certificate. The document is good for 3 years, and what you're going to see is the 3-year period is probably going to be different than your temporary certificate. So this 3-year period is really based on when you apply and then 3 years from the processing date. Now, your temporary certificate's a hiring document. This allows a school district to know that they can hire you as a certified teacher of record while you're working to complete your remaining requirements. And then the goal is to do it within that 3-year period and give you that 3-year period to complete all of those requirements. Now, the temporary certificate and the professional certificate, they're always going to start on July 1st, and they're always going to end on June 30th. And so that's a big difference, is that timeline between the statement of eligibility is, again, through your processing date, and then the timeline for your temporary certificate will always start on June 1st, and July 1st. What is wrong with me today? July 1st, and it'll always end on June 30th. So you may see some overlap. You may have a couple months off. Those are very individual situations, but you'll still be able to work or complete your requirements within that 3-year period.
Awesome. All right. So we got a question here from Sky from Facebook. Do you hear good things about Teachers of Tomorrow to get for your professional?
I know a little bit. So I previously used to work for Florida Teachers of Tomorrow. I worked with them for 3.5 years. It's actually where I got all my certification knowledge, was from working with there. I can just speak to them just because I'm familiar with the program, if that's fine, Dr. A. But it isn't one of, there's other online options for your EPI programs, but it is a great flexible program that allows you just to be able to complete your requirements on your time and your schedule. So that becomes really invaluable, especially as you're trying to navigate through the certification process and teach for your first time. And so when you're trying to figure out which route you should go to get your professional, you have to consider, obviously, cost. So I'm not even going to pretend that doesn't come into play. The cost of it, the flexibility. So do you have to be there face-to-face, or is it online? Do you have deadlines? Is that going to be manageable with your personal life balance? Those are very important things to think of. And how much time do you have left to complete the requirements? So I know with certain EPIs, and including Florida Teachers or Teachers of Tomorrow, you can complete your program for Florida within a 6-month time frame, in as little as 6 months. Now, if you end up taking Teachers of Tomorrow in another state, those requirements are going to be in line with that state's guideline. So that's just one thing to point out.
So let me ask you a question. How is a program like Teachers of Tomorrow compared to a district's alt-cert program, if they have one?
All district programs are not created equal. So I can't speak that I'm knowledgeable at all of them. The big thing that you're going to find is, I tend to find that people find the program much more flexible because they do have that online component. And since there's no deadlines for courses, assignments, and the completely self-paced, they kind of do have that luxury of completing things at their own pace. Now, I know with the district programs, you're going to have very specific admission requirements and time frame. So some district programs, from what I've seen, they can take a school year up to 2 years. And so you only have 3 years on your certificate. So you have to make sure that the timeline makes sense for what you're trying to accomplish within that time frame. And then the last part is, is it face-to-face? Do you have to pass the GKT to get admitted? And, do I have time, given everything when my temporary expires, to complete all those requirements?
So you said something interesting there. You said it depends on when they require to pass the GK to get admitted. So you're saying that certain programs have certain guidelines like that?
Oh, absolutely. So depending on the route you take or the program you choose, if you don't have your bachelor's degree and you're going into the College of Education, a lot of their programs, there's a lot of programs in Florida, they require that you pass the general knowledge test before you can start on your upper level courses. If you're trying to get admitted into certain county programs, possibly some of the EPIs, they do require that you do pass the general knowledge test. So you want to keep in mind that you're looking at those admission requirements, you're looking at how the cost is structured, and you're looking at the flexibility to make sure that it does make sense for you.
Awesome. All right. So Aaron, watching on our YouTube channel, what is your position on out-of-state reciprocity for teacher certification?
Sure. So when you have a full professional certificate, again, it cannot be your temporary certificate. It should be your full professional certificate. Majority of states should accept that certificate as a professional certificate in that state. Now, there may be some exceptions depending on that specific state's requirements. So it may be that you go to, I know certain states might require a master's, or they might require additional testing. So it may be that they accept you for an initial or temporary license, probationary license, for a little while until you work to complete the additional requirements that that state may have versus what Florida may have. Some states will just take your Florida certificate and go, okay, you're good to go. Here's our state certificate, and that's it. So I always say double check the state's requirements and just verify if you get an opportunity to with somebody or a certification specialist within maybe a school district you're interested in working with, so they can better define those requirements for you.
Awesome. Felicia has a question. She's an Army veteran who's also retired from working with the government. Is it possible to take the FTCE prior to applying for teacher certification?
Yes. So, Felicia, thank you for your service. And if you are not aware about the military waivers, there are military waivers available for the FTC exams for the first time attempts. And that includes all the subject area exams. So if you take pre-K through 3, elementary K through 6, middle school math 5 through 9, you could get first time exam fee waivers, military waivers on those exams. And if you have not applied before, you also can get a waiver on the application fee for that. And so if you don't have that information, you can email us and I can email you the links on where to go on the DOE's website to get all that. Now, this brings up a great point. So a common question I get, and Dr. A, you're asking me, like, what do people ask all the time? And I always forget about this, but people always ask me, when can I take the FTC? Do I need to take it before I apply? Can I take it? Do I have to wait till they actually tell me to apply? You can take the FTC exams at any moment. If you haven't applied with the Department of Education, that doesn't matter. If you haven't graduated with your 4-year degree, that's still okay. You can still sign up to take the exam. So it's just kind of up to you when you're ready to sign up and take those exams.
And it also depends too on your track. I mean, if you're a college student, you have to pass these in a certain order for your program and to graduate. And if you're a class 5 teacher, obviously your subject area and then your GK and professional. But like you said, you could take them whenever you want. I always tell people, and I'm sure you could agree with this, Lisa, too, is like for especially all cert teachers out there watching, whether live or the recording, yeah, you have to pass your subject area exam to get hired. However, it always is best practice if you can to knock out your GK because that makes you more marketable. Because we work hand in hand with a lot of the big school districts in the state of Florida doing GK prep, subject area, professional ed, and they don't want to lose you. So if you can walk into an interview, not only with your subject area, but your GK done, you're one less person they have to worry about making sure that you pass the exam so you keep your job. So definitely a great marketing tool for yourself to say, I already passed this test. You don't have to worry about me as well. So something to keep in mind too.
Yep, absolutely. And just to add to that, it depends on what you're applying for, whether you go straight to the general knowledge test or if you take the subject area exam, depending if you're going to be eligible or not. But again, the more exams you take, the more marketable you are and the more competitive advantage you're giving to yourself compared to other applicants. So it's definitely a great point.
And thanks for your question, Sugar Mama. I had to say that. It was a name. It said Sugar Mama on there. I love that. All right. So if I graduated in business, can I teach elementary education?
Yep. So if you have a 4-year degree, regardless of whatever the area is, it doesn't have to be in education. You can pretty much teach in any subject in Florida. And not that you can go right in and just go ahead and show up to the interview or apply and just teach it. There is a step and steps you have to follow with applying with the Department of Education. But you'd have to apply register to take the subject area exam. So if you're a business major like I was and you're interested in teaching elementary education, you're going to take that elementary K through 6 exam. If you are a communications major and you decide you want to be an English teacher, you take the English 6 through 12 exam. So it's a really nice flexibility that Florida has that you can have the college coursework, or if you don't, you could take the subject area exam. Now, if you're someone that isn't sure, if you have enough credits or not, I just say go ahead and take the subject area exam, only because you're going to have to take it regardless in that process. And so when you're working to get certified for your professional certificate, even if you were immediately eligible for your temporary certificate, you're going to have to take your subject area exam later on in that process.
All right, and since we're on this topic, we could probably kill 2 birds with 1 stone with the other question we have. If they want to teach kindergarten, can I just pass the PK through 3 subject area exam and not take the K through 6 exam?
In theory, yes. So if you wanted to teach kindergarten, you can do either pre-K through 3 or K through 6. Now, if you are a newer teacher into the field and you want to be more marketable and you're not sure exactly what grade levels you want to teach, and sometimes that's just with experience that maybe you get to the younger grade levels and you're like, maybe this isn't a good fit. And then you try 4th and 5th grade and all of a sudden you're like, oh, these are the kids I need to be with. Those are things to think about and consider when you're deciding which subject area exam to take. The K through 6 exam will definitely make you more marketable because you are including more grade levels. So sometimes people prefer, or districts prefer, to see the K through 6 level on there. But I know some people, they're like, nope, I want to do the pre-K through 3. I want to be with the younger grade levels. That's all I want to teach. And I know the exam's kind of more in line with what I want to do. Then go ahead and do the pre-K through 3.
Yeah. And also, make sure you check with your school district too, because I was talking before about, I've literally heard from school districts that I work with that they require their teachers to go back and take K through 6, even though they already passed PK through 3, because they want to be able to move them if they have to. And if you only pass PK through 3 and they want to put you in the 4th grade, well, you're out of field then at that point. So some school districts, not all of them, but some of them ask you to go back and do that. So definitely check in with your own school district if that's a question for you. Let's see here. So Barika asked a good question. Now that teachers are required to be K-12 reading endorsed, how long we have to pass the test in order to keep our job? So you could add on to this too, Lisa. Not everybody across the board. This is primarily associated with our elementary school teachers, but it has nothing to do with keeping your job. It's being labeled out of field if you don't have that pass, correct?
So my understanding is just to kind of in addition to your current certification to have the reading K through 12. My understanding is up to the 3rd grade level for the reading endorsement. As far as extensions, I know the goal was, I think, it's either this year or possibly even 2021. If it is 2021, I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head. I would imagine with everything going on, there is going to be some leniency on that because you can't even get in to get into the reading K through 12 exam. So if you weren't familiar, in order to get reading endorsed, you can take the reading K through 12 subject area exam in order to be endorsed in that area. So in order to keep your job, I mean, you'd have to verify with the districts, because as much as I can say from a state level what that looks like, if your district wants to hold stricter requirements or have specific dates that are within the guidelines of the state, they are able to do so. So the district tends to be, or your school or principal will be the better person to ask for that.
It's definitely a big concern now. That's one of our most popular workshops and courses now on the Learning Liaisons website is our reading K through 12 boot camp course, because a lot of people coming through passing it, and all they have to do is pay $75 to the state, and then now they're reading endorsed, and not going to be labeled out of field. So I do know that it was supposed to be July 31st, and now they extended it to January 2021, but I'm sure that might be getting pushed back even more because of the testing centers. So definitely something to check in with your school district when it comes to that date.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting a little echo. Is your earplug plugged into your computer?
Yes.
Okay. It's only when I talk. Let's see here. See if I could switch this real fast. See if that changes it. No one wants to hear my voice twice. There you go. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Oh, that's even more. Either way. I'll just lower my volume here. All right, so let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Let's go here. What is my first step for teacher certification?
So as long as you have a 4-year degree, your first step is going to be applying with the Department of Education. Now, I meet some people that are like, oh, I have someone really interested in me, or I was told I need to take an exam first. I always encourage people to apply first. And the reason I encourage people to apply first with the Department of Education is just because of that processing time. Right now, from what I've heard, processing times have been going fairly quickly. I think with everything going on and testing being spread out the way it is and the extensions, they're not experiencing their typical summer peak. So I've seen a lot of stuff get processed a little bit faster. But just keep in mind, at minimum, it is about 4 weeks. What I typically see is anywhere from 2 to 3 months to get your documents processed. So I always encourage people just to apply first, because even if you get a not eligible statement of eligibility and you have your passing subject area exam score, you can do more with that than I passed my subject area, but I haven't applied yet. Because there are some districts that are going to be very big sticklers on you must have that formal document from the Department of Education with your statement of eligibility.
Awesome. So kind of backtracking a little bit, Sky's question, is it being out of field an issue for charter schools? Now, we're talking about back to that reading K through 12. So from your knowledge, do these same rules apply to charter schools?
Yes. So charter schools still fall in line with the district requirements and the state certification requirements. So if you are out of field right now, whether it is for the endorsement purposes or in another field, if you're teaching out of field just in another subject area, it will come up from the district level, because they do keep track of all that for all the charter school teachers as well. Now, if you're working at a private school, it's a completely different ball game. They don't keep track of things quite the same way because they are independent and private, but charter and public schools do keep in line in the same state requirements for out of field.
Awesome, awesome. So Rosaria has a question from YouTube. She's watching from YouTube. I'm enrolled to take the Spanish K through 12, but it says I'm pre-approved and it doesn't let me see a date to take the test. What does that mean?
I'm the wrong person to ask Dr. A.
Well, I've never had that question before. That sounds like maybe you don't have to take it. I would call, I know people don't like this answer, but try to call the Pearson or DOE and ask them what that means. I would definitely call Pearson, because that's off the website that it's saying on there. But that sounds like pre-approved for me means you already got stuff covered already. So don't take it from me. Definitely it's worth waiting on hold to find that out, because you don't want to wind up trying to take something that you don't have to take it. You might get good news if you wait. Let's see here. Back to some of these questions. This is a popular one I get a lot of times. If I pass my exams one time, do I have to pass them again?
All right. So as I mentioned at the beginning, your exam scores are good for 10 years. Now, your exams, now say you're within the 10-year time frame. If those exam scores have never been used and applied towards a professional certificate, you do not have to pass them again. So, you don't have to pass them again. So say you pass a subject area exam, elementary K through 6 for your temporary certificate, your temp expires, you do the sit-out year, you don't have to take that exam again. Now, if you got a professional certificate, you let your professional certificate lapse, it's possible that you would have to take the subject area exam in order to reinstate your professional certificate. But your scores are good for 10 years. So if you exceed that 10-year mark or you don't reinstate your professional certificate and keep up with your renewals, it is possible that you would have to retake an exam.
Awesome. Awesome. So whether you guys are watching live or recording, feel free to post your questions in the comment box. I think I tackled all the ones that were texted. Is any other big ticket items, Lisa, that you can share some of those FAQs when it comes to certification? I know we talked about the difference between what the statement of eligibility is. Can you kind of maybe walk through everybody through the process from beginning to end maybe, or is any other big ticket items you want to share?
Sure. So, when whoever you are, whether you're starting out the process, whether you're currently in school, the overall process tends to be the same. You have to apply with the Department of Education. You need to get a statement of status of eligibility. One thing to keep in mind is you don't actually get a certification until you are hired. So a lot of people think they have an eligible statement of eligibility. It pretty much means it means they have a temporary certificate. They are two different things. The statement of eligibility is letting you know what you have to do to get your certificate, and your temporary certificate and your professional certificate allow you to be hired as a teacher of record for a certain period of time while you work on your requirements to either renew or upgrade to a professional certificate. Now, when you apply and you're trying to figure out, am I going to be eligible or not eligible for a subject area? What they're looking for eligibility purposes is they're looking to see if do you have enough coursework, do you have a 2.5 GPA in that coursework, did you major in that area, or did you pass the subject area exam? Now, if you're someone, as I think a previous question was earlier, if you're a career changer in business going to elementary education, you're probably going to take the subject area exam in order to complete that requirement and become eligible. But the goal is to become eligible, and then once you get hired, the district puts in the request to get your temporary certificate issued to you. And then after that, depending on kind of your background, your college course requirements, could be even possibly your work experience depending, you'll have specific requirements based off of your application package that you submitted, letting you know that you have what you have to complete for your professional certificate. A lot of people don't realize you get your statement of eligibility. It can be anywhere from 2 to 3 pages long, and there's a lot of information going on. Your statement of eligibility, especially for your professional certificate, only lists 1 of 11 routes in order to complete your requirements. And I think the reason they do that is I like to say it's like your itemized receipt of all the little requirements you have to do, so you can kind of figure out and piece together which route is going to be the best for you. And I'm always open to helping out anybody. If you send me your statement of eligibility, I'll let you know kind of what are your best options. If you're someone with 3 semester hours, or 3 classes you have to take versus 6, I'm going to tell you 2 different things. If you're someone that only needs to take exams, or if you have reciprocity, I'm going to tell you different things. So it just really depends on your situation, your background, and your coursework. So
awesome. And I posted Lisa's email address in the comment box. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to email her. Margaret asked a question before, do we have any workshops for birth through 4? Unfortunately, we do not right now. When it comes to subject area exams, off the top of my head, we got PK through 3 video courses, K through 6, math 5 through 9, high school, 6 through 12 math. We have our reading K through 12, popular boot camp on our website. So we have a few subject area exams, and we're always adding more to that list. But unfortunately, right now, we do not have the birth through 4 exam. All right, so moving on to another question. Let's see here. I know Sky said about headphones. I do this every week on here, and it never has any echo. Now all of a sudden it's echoing me. So fortunately, I don't have headphones next to me, but I don't think it's too bad. Let's see here. We got an ESOL question here.
Okay. For the ESOL, I was advised to do 1 to 2 courses per year, up to. Yes, you should absolutely contact the district. When it comes to your ESOL endorsement and other endorsement areas, you do take your coursework. Usually it's through the district. It's possible that you might be taking it at a college, but I usually find majority of people do complete the requirements through the district if they can get in. Now, if there's no courses available, I would definitely talk to your district about what your options are at this point in order to be compliant. Every district's going to be a little bit different in how they want to manage that, and I can't speak to how the district's going to do it, but I would definitely just contact your district for your professional development team or the certification team to kind of see what your best route is going to be.
Awesome. So can you hear me now on this?
Yes.
I still hear echo. Look at that. It's just crazy. Let's see here. I love these. Sky says, what's the cheapest way to get endorsed?
So it depends what county you're in. I know a lot of counties offer the courses for their endorsements either for free or a minimal fee. I do know, depending on the county, they might partner with somebody like Beacon Educator or another program in order to complete those education course requirements. The best thing to do, the best suggestion I have, is to really reach out to the professional development team. or even I would say the professional development team, and ask them what are the county approved options. Because when it comes to professional development, especially when it comes to the endorsements, those courses have to be approved by the district. You can't just, or they have to be taken at the college level. So if you just find something online and you just assume you can take it, I wouldn't do that. I would make sure that the county and the school district has approved those courses, because their team and the HR team have to go through an approval process, and sometimes it has to go to the board for complete approval for their professional development. So contact your district.
All right, Jade watching on YouTube. If you majored in a subject, I'm assuming in college, will you have to take an exam? I'm assuming maybe the subject area exam.
So yes. If you major, let's say in biology, I don't know why I always go to biology, but that's my one of my examples I go to. If you majored in biology and you're trying to teach biology 6 through 12, in theory, you're not going to take an exam to get your temporary certificate. You can be immediately eligible, and then you would get, once you get hired, you get your temporary certificate. But then you have 3 years to complete your remaining 3 state exams. So you're still going to have your general knowledge test, your professional education test. And even though you were approved for your temporary based off of your coursework, you will still have to take your subject area exam in order to earn your professional.
Awesome. And I got a question based off of that. I don't know if there's any different answer to this, but does it matter if someone comes out with their master's degree and starts this process versus someone with the undergrad? Are there different requirements? Are there exemptions for anything like that?
I'm trying to frame my question, because there's a couple different ways to go with it. So the minimum requirement in order to be able to apply to be a teacher in the state of Florida is going to be having a bachelor's degree. Now, if you have a master's degree, you can actually, that can help you as long as you're teaching in the subject area related to your master's degree. That can help you get an increase in pay. And I know that definitely can make you a more qualified candidate. And if you're teaching if you got a master's degree, let's say in math, and you're teaching a high-level math course on the high school level, that can help you eliminate specific requirements for your professional certificate. So your master's degree can definitely help with pay and the certification, depending on what you're teaching.
Awesome. And what about, no one asked this question ahead of time, but we always get this about, is there a way to get exempt from the general knowledge test? Because that's the thorn inside of a lot of people when it comes to passing this exam. So I saw the smile already when I said that. So what's your response to that?
The dreaded general knowledge test. So there are really only 2 exemptions that can happen when taking the general knowledge test. It's either that you have college teaching experience. So if you taught at a 4-year college for an equivalent of 1 year, so if you taught part-time, but all that part-time experience equals to 1 year, you can get the GKT waived. Or if you have passed the GRE. And so if you have meet certain score requirements for the GRE, that can be applied to the specific and respective sections of the general knowledge test.
Awesome. And just so you guys don't know, the GRE is a graduate exam. So when people ask me that, I'm like, you think the GK is hard? This is a little more difficult, because that's more of an aptitude test, kind of similar to SAT versus straight content knowledge like on the GK. So big difference in testing styles, and a little bit harder. And there is a minimum score you need to get, and they state that on the DOE website. Crystal asked, do we help with other states? Right now, we do offer prep for praxis exams. That's in about 30 to 35 of the states with the praxis core and some of the praxis 2 exams. But you followed up here as your next comment. I don't know what these exams are. West B, NES. I have to look into them. All the exams in the different states are all the same. They just have different titles to them. 90% of the skills are all the same. So if you want to shoot me an email, I can definitely look into it. I'll put my email in the comment box. Want to shoot me an email with a link to the website with that? I'll take a look at it. Felicia, yes. Perfect timing. You asked that about to share with the group for the streaming session. We're not Tuesday, sorry. Thursday. From now all the way through midnight, I created a special code for people who took the time to join us here today and are serious about passing their exam. Use the coupon code all capital letters, 350. That's going to work through midnight tonight and take 50% off anything on our website. So you said you want the GK boot camp, that'll take 50% off. So that code is going to work through midnight tonight for anyone watching this live or the recording before midnight tonight. Let's see here. Rosario watching on YouTube. Temporary expired. What do I need to do to get the professional?
So I'm not sure. Every statement of eligibility and requirement for your professional is customized to your application package that you submitted to the Department of Education. So if you're temporary expired, you can elect to do the sit out year. So you can sit out for 1 full year. And then when July 1st, if your temp just expired, so for 2020, you have to wait till July 1st of 2021 to apply for that new statement of eligibility, so you can become eligible for a new temporary certificate. If you have a copy of your statement of eligibility and you send that over to me, I can tell you what you need to do. But you can definitely still work on your requirements for your professional certificate. And as long as you complete those requirements, you should still be able to upgrade to your professional certificate.
Awesome. Marika, I can't tell you how many times I get this question. I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell thousands of teachers every month. You ready? So whenever I do these sessions live or online, or people call and ask questions, as you know, and if you're already in our courses, according to the DOE, about 39% of teachers pass all 4 subtests on the GK on the first attempt. Obviously, math takes some people a lot longer. And yes, I am on your side. Unless you're a high school math teacher, most of the stuff, especially when you go to Comp 3, Comp 4, geometry, and algebra, yeah, it's a pain in the butt. You're never going to teach it. It's not something that you're going to require to know for school. However, the low-level things are basic math skills that a lot of people, or I should say not a lot of people, all teachers should be somewhat proficient in. Remember, this test is a performance. It's not measuring how smart you are. It's just measuring how good of a test taker you are. It's all about strategy. So I definitely recommend our boot camp and our math channel for your math anxiety, but it's all because math is a different language. And a lot of people struggle with math growing up because their math teacher wasn't the best. And they try to drill and kill and memorize everything, and that's just not how people learn. So I understand your frustration. GK math goes 4th through 8th grade. The only exception is there's a couple of questions on standard deviation that reach into 9th grade, but we address those in our courses. But yes, I am on your side. A kindergarten teacher, an English teacher, there's no reason to know how to do algebra, but unfortunately, it's the same thing across the United States, whether it's practice or GACE or anything else. They do have that stretch of skill knowledge that they ask you to perform on, which is typically 4th through 8th grade. But yes, I'm on your side. It is a pain in the butt, but I know you can pass. Let's see here. I think we got all the text message questions here done. Let's double check these. We got all those done. Let's check the comments here. So anybody here? We got a bunch of people watching. Any of you guys have any questions? Anyone want to pop in the room and give us your situation and ask Lisa for advice, or myself, or just want to jump in and say hello? I'll grab the link if you guys want. I'm going to put it in the comment box. Obviously, if you're watching the recording later on, you can't join us live, but I'm putting it in the comment box right now. So all you have to do is click on it, and it'll open up on another screen for you just to request access to the room. I'll leave that in the comment box for you in case anybody wants to jump on and talk to Lisa and ask you questions there. So other than that, does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns when it comes to the certification process? We're here for you. We're going to try to do these at least once a month. But I want to see your questions for me. Got a bunch of people watching, so let me know what questions you have. We talked about the difference, what the statement of eligibility is. Any other big ticket items there, Lisa, that you can think of that we didn't really address?
Oh, there we go. I see a question. Let's see. DCOF.
DOE.
I'm assuming it's DOE, except certifications from another state. Yes. So if you come into Florida, you can apply for reciprocity. You'll still apply with the Department of Education. So when you're applying, you need to submit your online application, a copy of all your college transcripts, and I always suggest submitting all of them. You're going to pay a $75 fee per subject area. So if you have multiple certifications from another state and want that transferred over, you are going to pay $75 per subject area or endorsement area that you are trying to transfer over. And then with that, you are also going to submit a copy of that active certificate. And so that's going to be the key thing when you're doing reciprocity, because some states, they have lifetime certificates. Some states have 10-year certificates. Some states have 5-year certificates. So it's making sure that your certificate is valid. And you submit that copy, front and back copy, to the Department of Education.
Awesome. All right. Let's see here. I'm just throwing something in the comment box for people.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys have any questions or custom questions regarding your statement of eligibility, or maybe you're about ready to go on the next step to try to get your professional and want to figure out your options and understand the routes, send me your statement of eligibility over at lisa@thelearningliaisons.com. I know Dr. A posted my email up there, and I'll go over your statement of eligibility and I'll write out a custom response depending on what it says on there. So at least you have a good idea on what those options are, because sometimes that's not as clear as that could be to you. So I try to get people to educate themselves on their options so that way they can make the best decision for themselves.
Also, we got a couple more questions popped in. Joyce wants to know if you have a master's degree, you have to take the GK.
Yes. So unless, I'm sorry to say that, everyone, unless you, when you took your master's degree, if you had to take the GRE, you can apply the GRE scores towards your GKT portions, or if you taught in college at the college level. I do know a lot of colleges do require a master's degree in order to teach as a professor. As long as your experience equals 1 year, you can waive it. If none of those two things apply to you, then unfortunately you do have to take the exam.
I'm trying to pull up while you're talking about that what the actual, looking at my other screen here, what the actual score is. So here we go. I got it here. What I'm going to do right now while you're talking is I'm going to take a screenshot here, and I'm going to pull it up in the, gotta love technology here. I'm going to pull this up and we'll pop it up on the screen. This way it's good for people who are watching this later on too, to know what the scores are.
I know, it's the one question I've gotten for 3 years and I just never remember the scores.
Here it is. Loading, loading, loading. There it is. Bam. So to get exempt from these subtests for the GK, there are your scores. So you can go in there if you wanted to and take the test. The writing, you need a 4 out of 6 to pass on your GK essay. For ELS and reading subtests, you need a score on the GRE of 149 and then math 143. So this is straight from the DOE website.
And just to add on that too, so if only one of those sections apply, so say you only have the passing score for the GRE math, you can apply it just to that section, and then you would have to take the other 3 sections. Or if your verbal reasoning is the only exam that you pass or beat the score requirements, then you can waive the reading and the English, but you'll still have to take the essay and the math portion.
All right, so G. Marie has a question. What are your thoughts about trying to find a job this upcoming year with just a statement of eligibility?
I think I see teachers in every situation get hired. So as long as you have an eligible statement of eligibility, it is definitely possible to get hired. Is it going to be challenging? Yes, so if you haven't really worked on any of the requirements and you're just trying to apply, you may have a little bit of a harder time, just depending on your experience. But if you've developed and invested yourself further in the process, whether that's taking and passing the subject area exam, taking your general knowledge test, maybe you've been subbing for a little bit, or maybe you just have lots of experience with children, maybe it's from tutoring or working with youth groups, all of those things can factor into you still being able to get hired. So I definitely think it's possible. I definitely see people get hired in every which situation. So as long as you're in a more demand area, so top areas that get requested are going to be your math, your science classes. Depending on the area, elementary K through 6 can be a higher demand, but it just really depends on kind of where you're at in the state. English 6 through 12 is definitely going to be another one that tops the list as well.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens when schools start, because obviously everyone's here in Florida is watching the news. You can't hide from it. You know, the governor's statements, and now the school districts, whether they're going to abide by it now. So it can go either way. I mean, if I'm hearing a lot of teachers that don't want to go back to the classroom and they might retire or quit, there might be a lot of vacancies, or a flip side where there can be hiring freezes. I mean, it just depends on the county and the need. I know several principals that told me that they have a hiring freeze. They had to actually let some teachers go because of the funding coming in for next school year because of COVID. So we don't know. It's just going to depend on where you are in the state and the need in that school district. So definitely a good time to get in the field of education. But we'll see what happens when school happens, obviously. We've got some more questions. Mary Ann, you might have to refresh our memory, because Mary Ann, you answered this question before. Do they accept certification from another state? And then I guess we didn't answer a complete question. She wants to know, do I have to take a test?
So it can depend on what state your certification is coming from. I don't know and memorize the full reciprocity. I usually find more times than not, if you're fully certified in another state, Florida will accept your certificate. Now, what I will say is, depending on the county in which you're applying for, I have seen certain counties still request that you pass the subject area exam, even if your reciprocity is accepted. That's very rare, but I have seen where they're still looking for you to pass the subject area exam. So if your reciprocity was accepted by the state, you are professionally certified. Now, if the school district requests that you pass anything in addition to that, they are able to do so.
Awesome. So we got Marika has a question here.
Yeah.
Teaching in another country for 10 years, moved to the U.S., worked in a charter school, but they didn't count her previous years. Is that because she's in a charter school instead of a public school?
And then I moved. My understanding is your years of experience are as a professionally certified teacher in the U.S. And so that is my understanding, how they decide your years of experience for teaching. Now, that I might be wrong on that, but that's the general sense I get when I'm talking to HR people about how that's calculated.
Yeah, I can speak to that too, because I've had over the years a lot of people who have come from a different country and come to me and used our prep courses and come to our workshops that have been teaching for a long time in another country, and they have to come in here and they have to take all the exams again. So yeah, I definitely see that as a reality. Elinette has a good question here. I do apologize if I mispronounced your name. Could the English 6 to 12 subject area exam fulfill the 5 through 9?
So this depends on what grade level you're teaching. And also it also might depend on the district you're in. Now, if you're teaching, I guess, the 6th grade, either one should work and apply towards it. I've been in certain districts where they might specifically request that you get the middle school 5 through 9, but if you're just going into the profession, and you haven't really found any work just yet, but you know you want to do English, I usually encourage people just to do 6 through 12 because it does cover more grade levels, and that can get your foot in the door a little bit easier.
Awesome. Let's see here. We answered all of those questions. Anything else, Lisa, you feel that we didn't cover that's kind of a big thing?
Not that I can think of.
We talked about statement of eligibility. We talked about exemptions to the GK. We talked about what order to take the exams.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
just to touch on Elinette, she said she's teaching 5th grade. So because you are specifically teaching 5th grade, you do need English 5 through 9. Because the 6 through 12, unfortunately, it just doesn't cover. That's the difference, is the 5th grade level. So if you are specifically teaching English for 5th grade, you would need the 5 through 9.
All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of some of the other big ones that I get. I think you pretty much covered anything, unless there's anything else comes to the top of your mind.
I can't think of anything. I mean, the best thing I can say to people is certification tends to be very unique to you. In general, you are taking exams, and that's why we're here today to talk about how you can get support through while you're taking those state exams. But then when it comes to that certification process, you're going to find different people that have very different requirements. So what some person next to you has to do, or in the classroom over had to do to get certified, might not necessarily be what you have to do to get certified. And there could be a number of reasons that play into that.
Valor says, I missed the order you should take the tests in.
So what I usually recommend is, if you are applying and you're applying for a subject area to teach in a subject area you did not graduate in, I would strongly encourage that you take your subject area exam first, and then your general knowledge test, and then your professional education test. Now, if you know based off of your major, or if you're trying to get into a program and you know you're going to be eligible for your temporary, then you might want to take your general knowledge test first so you can be admitted to certain programs, whether that be at the college level or an alternative certification program.
Awesome. And Marika, once again, and there are no silly questions. We
No.
didn't save the past statements for the test. So I know they keep them in your account, in your Pearson account for a long time. So I don't think you need to pass them. I would frame them and put them up on your wall, and just to, show you I got them.
It's an accomplishment. You invest a lot of time preparing for all of those.
You're going to come back and say, show it to me right now, or else you're losing your certification. No, they're not going to do that.
So you get your unofficial score reports. Those are good to keep. What you do want to make sure you do keep is your official FTC score report. So this usually has a little barcode on top. It looks a lot more formal than the unofficial one that you get. So make sure to have that copy on hand. And if for any reason you don't have a copy of it, you could always go back and request a copy of that document.
All right. So Felicia says, how long do you recommend between retaking exams? So I know you have 31 days before you can take it again if you don't pass it. I don't know if you're asking me recommended study or time weighted. I always write, if this helps out at all, we always recommend here at the Learning Liaisons a solid 3 to 4 weeks of preparation. Obviously, depends on the exam. For example, if it's an exam that has math, sometimes it takes some people a little longer because of foundations and build up their confidence. But I definitely recommend 3 to 4 weeks. But also, assuming that you need to take a variety of exams, I always tell people not to study for multiple exams at the same time. The only one that has a small overlap, like 25% of the test, could be something like the professional ed test and your subject area exam. Because all the new versions of the subject area exam, about 25% of the exam is how to teach, how to plan, how to assess type of questions, which you'll see on the professional ed. Let's see here.
Yep, that's the one I would recommend for you. Since you already graduated in elementary education, then what would happen is your general knowledge test tends to be the more important one. I think that's a good, that would be what I would suggest to you, is to take the GK, then the subject area, then your professional ed.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. Let's end with this. Lisa, if there's one biggest piece of parting advice you can give to all of our teachers looking towards gaining that almighty professional certificate, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't hesitate for a second to even ask me a question, your certification at your district a question, just because it may seem that all the answers are very transparent. Some of them are not as easy to find or direct as I would hope them to be. So don't be afraid to ask a question and figure out what the best route is for you. Don't quit asking questions.
All right. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining us, and definitely go like definitely subscribe to YouTube channel. Follow us on our Learning Liaisons Facebook page, because every Monday night we're doing the Deets with Dr. Ray show, where it's live streaming PD for all teachers. But this Monday is something similar to this topic, where we have some of our partners over at Teacher Ready are leading our Deets with Dr. Ray session this Monday night at 6 p.m., where we're going to talk about the alternative certification process and how you can get your certification within a year. So that's definitely something you want to tune in if you're on the alt-cert route and you need help with that. That's this Monday at 6 p.m. If you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see the event to click the reminder, or you can go to our Learning Liaisons Facebook page and get that event as well. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I threw Lisa's email up on the screen. So whether you're watching it live or the recording, feel free to reach out. You can email her, or I will take my email. I already put it up on the screen. I'll throw it up on there as well. There's my email. Feel free to reach out anytime, because we're here to help you. So with that being said, I'll tell you the same thing I tell thousands of teachers every month that we help. Always remember, it's not if you could pass your exam, it's when. So we've got your back. If you pass any questions you have, we're here to help you. We hope you have a great rest of your day, even better week, and an amazing weekend. And don't study too hard every day. It's all about consistency, building diligence, and building that confidence. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see
Thank you.
Bye-bye.